This episode is brought to you by Ignite, the financial professionals' preferred CPD solution.
This is Propulsion, the financial professional's catalyst to exponential growth. Are you a driven and ambitious financial professional, but you are finding it hard to break through to the next level? Or are you struggling to build and run your practice successfully? Join Francois du Toit, a leading consultant and trainer, as he interviews not only the experts, but also people you have never heard of before, but who have done amazing things, about how they run their practices, the challenges they face, how they overcome those challenges, their failures, which tech has improved their business, how their revenue models work, and other practical aspects. We go deep so you can learn as much as possible. And here is your host, Francois du Toit.
Ignite is the number one choice of financial professionals when it comes to their continued professional development. Ignite offers access to a blend of online and face-to-face options. It also offers preferential rates, exclusive deals, and value-added benefits that you cannot find anywhere else. So go to www.francoisdutoit.co.za/ignite right now and join Ignite. That is www.francoisdutoit.co.za/ignite. All right, let's get on with the show. Today, I have a very exciting guest. We are going to talk about branding and how you do it in the digital space, but also many other tips and tricks for people that is running their own business, and particularly those financial professionals who are building their own practice. And whether you've just started out or whether you've been going for a long time, there's going to be value here for each and every single one of you. My guest today is Rizanne Oosthuisen, and I'm very happy to have her here. It's been a while that we wanted to get together and have this chat, so I'm very excited. Rizanne, welcome to Propulsion.
Thank you, Francois. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's we've communicated so much over email, and then we've sort of spoken a little bit about WordPress and WordCamp and all those good things because I missed it this year. But I would, I think we share a passion for these things. You are lucky to do this as a career and as a job, which I think is really awesome and exciting. And I think we should start off with just maybe sharing, what was your journey? I think you started your career back in 2003. Can you sort of tell us a little bit about, who Rizanne is, where she comes from, the journey that she's had, and we will take it from there.
Definitely. I studied at AAA School of Advertising, and I've always been on the creative side. The creative side was always my passion. So studying visual communications and graphic design at a school that is more industry focused was a natural progression for me from there. And then from there, I went into agency. I was lucky to get into an agency where we worked with big brands such as Distel, Metropolitan, Old Mutual, Rimmel, to name but a few. And I had an absolutely amazing mentor there. I remember there were times where I would present work and it would be literally the lines would be looked at ruler by ruler. And I'm incredibly grateful for Vanessa. I think she definitely started me off on the quality of design and definitely the way things should be done properly. We definitely spent a lot of time on quality design there. From there on, I did go on my own. Around about 2006, I started on taking some more clients. And 2008, I ended up going on my own when I got a contract with Rimmel Hair Care, owned by Collimer. Yes. I believe they had a design agency at the time, which they swapped over. And I was fortunate. We had a lovely working relationship for a long time. And I also started a business venture from there on. We were in the career branding space, we could call it that. It went great for about 6 years. And then life happened, I guess. Unfortunately,
it just does. It's just like
it
everything's
does.
going so well, and then who's this guy? Oh, it's life.
Yeah, Lies due for tea. Yes, definitely. It's things that you don't plan for. Your business can be going as well as you could want to. Financially, you could be doing great, but it is things you would probably never think of that would happen. And then all of a sudden, you lose everything. You have 5 incredible women working for you that with children, that you now need to say, I'm sorry, we can't do this anymore. Um, that was a very, very big knock to recover from, and definitely, I think a little bit time off was due. Um, but from there, after that period, I moved from Cape Town back up here. My family is up here. I went into absolute, I don't want to call it beast mode, but I went into a mode of, I am going to learn this, this, and this. And it's like a whole new world opened for me when I discovered things like Udemy, online courses, the YouTube courses. If I think back now, I can't imagine why I didn't think about that before. So it was really amazing, and I actually learned as much as I could. I put head down. I went into the digital space. I went into the web design space. All of my graphic design skills that I had, everything that I had known about career branding and working with people. I'd worked with over 11,000 people in the career branding space. Looking at all of that and how can I leverage this? Because you're sitting at a point where you have to look at, what have I got? And this is all I have. And I have got to make the best of what I've got right now. And you just go into an absolute mode. And I do think I studied and I learned as much as I could. I involved myself in online communities, professional communities from which I learned. I asked questions. And it just grew and grew and grew from there. You know, when you start taking on clients again, you start actually collaborating with these people that you were learning with. You know, when new technologies are coming out and you're trying it out and a project comes up and you're like, well, let's try this out together. I'll do this part, you do that part. And from there, from there, you know, entered back into the workspace, and things grew pretty quickly once I had gone down with a learning curve, and I was starting to test out new things and seeing, this is working. Let me try it this way. Let me try it this way. And I started to get an interest in what I do and how I do it.
That's an amazing story, because, you know, it started off, if I can summarize it, with a corporate, if you will, or working in a business or working for someone else, going to doing your own thing and really landing some very nice contracts from the start, you know, building a nice business, and then one day losing everything and then having to regroup and get up again. And, you know, it is, I don't think it's everybody that is able to recover from things like that. So from my side, I think well done. And that's going to stand you in good fast, in the rest of your career and the businesses that you're building. Because I think that is where you build resilience, and that is where you build character, you know, to say, well, you know what, if I can do this, there's nothing that I can't do. In the moment, it seems like this is bad. It can't get worse, you know. But once you get through it, it's like, wow, that was actually a great thing that happened to me. In hindsight, you know, at that point in time, that was definitely not the best thing that ever happened to you. So my question is, you mentioned a little bit about, you know, you then started using your graphic design skills. And I think this is one thing, and maybe I'll be jumping around a little bit in terms of what we've got to be talking about. But there is a big difference between somebody that builds, let's say, for instance, websites, and people that design them. They are not necessarily the same people, and there is a massive difference. I think the design is so much more important, and there's so many aspects of design, from the look and feel and everything that you want, to the copy or the words that's on the page, but also the user experience when you actually are on that web page and you go through it and you use it, you know, what that experience is like. So do you think that, you know, and we'll get to whether you help clients with websites and all sorts of other stuff, or do you focus on specific things, or are your focus graphic design? But do you feel that, you know, graphic design has really helped you a lot to do what you are busy with at the moment?
I think a solid grounding in design and design principles is incredibly important. There's incredibly successful web designers that start from web designers as well. So I don't think there's a for or against argument. I think for me personally, I am incredibly grateful that I have had such a solid grounding in graphic design. Apart from just the creative side, you learn a lot from design thinking, innovation. You have to look at things. People present you with something they want to say, and you have to present it visually. So you have to look at things and come up with solutions on how can I convey this message to an audience so they can understand it better. I think I sent you some items on the brain processes visual information 60,000 times faster than text, which goes to show, I mean, the quality of your visual content makes a really, really big difference. And when people take 50 milliseconds to make their first impression on the value of your brand or your content, then certainly it is good to invest in good visual. But I do think with as you were mentioning, you get the design space, the web design space, and there's also the developers. And if it wasn't for the developers, we actually wouldn't have these great tools to be doing design in the first place. So I think there's space absolutely for everyone. In the old days, the principles would be split up. You'd have your copywriter, your front end, your back end, and luckily there are still agencies that do it like that. But these days, entrepreneurs and small businesses, they require a 360 solution, and they require a more cost-effective solution. So a lot of creators are finding themselves wearing a lot of different hats, even going as far to being business analysts or, helping with the business process, which is ultimately where I ended up knowing all of the different kinds of principles, even a little bit about digital, that you end up overseeing the whole brand, and you get into a space, and it does come with experience. You get into a space where you actually end up being a brand designer and brand strategist. And all of those pillars, as if I can call it that, make up, you would either do it yourself, or you would actually get an expert to write the copy or do the digital, etc.
So your main focus right now in your business, if I say the main focus, is it now on brand strategy and branding? Is that what you primarily focus on?
In my creative business, it will definitely be on branding and brand strategy. I work with a lot of startups and entrepreneurs. I enjoy them. They have very unique challenges. Everybody is different, from red speckled sugar beans that needs to be packaged and go into the wholesale market, to military components, braais, to name a few. I'm thinking office furniture. There's quite a lot, and with each one, you do need to do the research. You do need to learn who's the competition, what is everybody else doing, what is going to work better, who is the audience, how does the product work. You end up learning quite a bit. You find yourself at a braai sometimes knowing too much about everything.
Oh, yes, she is again, the one that knows everything. I can hear
that is terrible, yeah.
All right, so how did you end up in financial services as well? Because I know that you also do some work in the financial services space, because that's why I came across one of the solutions that you have. And that's why I got interested to talk to you, because I think there's a lot of value that we can bring. And one of my philosophies is that, if you can get someone from outside the industry, once you're in the pool for too long, you don't feel that it's cold anymore. It just gets like that's the temperature. But when you get in the pool the first time, it's like, the water is warm or the water is very cold, and you can immediately tell the difference. But you stay there long enough, and then you lose that. And I feel it's the same in financial services. You come in from the outside and you can see things, I think, clearer and easier. And often we feel like we're asking stupid questions or dumb questions, but those are the questions that nobody is asking anymore. So we just gotten accustomed to doing the way that we do things. And I think, coming up from other industries and also having I would say the privilege of working in a variety of industries, you can see different things that they're doing and say, well, but how can we take something that they do in manufacturing and actually use that and adapt it for financial services and the other way around, etc. So, from that point of view, I think you've got a lot of value to add, but how did you end up in the financial services space?
Yeah, about towards the end of 2018, I was contracted by also a startup, the startup space, by advisory called IWCP, Insurance and Wealth Creation Professionals, to help start up their brand. And that was from the ground up, literally, social website, and not only online tools, a lot of the brand strategy, a lot of the offline tools that they need to use. And I was contacted by them, and I fell into this by default. Really, it was somebody in my network that I trust, and that trusts me too. And that is how I landed in the financial industry. And it's interesting because I've never worked in corporate. It was a very big learning curve. I had to ask a lot of questions, and I was confused by quite a few things. So,
particularly all the abbreviations, I guess, and the acronyms.
Yeah, yes, and you have to ask, but why does it work like that? But why can't you do it like that? And then in the end, you start to understand. I mean, it is really highly regulated, and there is very much a reason for doing certain things the way they need to be done. But I think there's also a lot of space for innovation and doing things a little bit differently. But ultimately, definitely, I would always say, if you do anything, you have to do what works for you. It doesn't mean it's going to work because it's working for somebody else. It will work for you. But if you invest in anything, make sure it works for you. And it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. There's so many things that you can do in order to do marketing or build your brand or build your business. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it is not everything's going to work for you. And I fully agree with you that you need to do things that you are comfortable with and things that make sense to you. And the one thing that I would say to anybody listening is that don't be afraid to try things. Test it. Try it. Don't be afraid to do something that doesn't work. We did things last year that we did for 6 months, and 6 months later I said, no, this is not working. Let's scan it. And it's I'm definitely not I don't have a feeling of, well, I wasted my time or I wasted resources or now I look like a failure and what are people going to, I don't care. Because for me, I tried something, it's working or it's not working, and I learned a lot from that, and it's helping me now in the next phase of the business where we're taking what we've got and making it better, for example. So there's always this learning that you take from it, and unless you try stuff, you're not even going to know whether you like it or not. So by trying different things, that's how you learn. You get to realize that, wow, this I like more doing than the other thing, and this actually works more for me. But maybe if I do it this way, then it will actually work. I was having a discussion with somebody just before we did the interview, and I said to him, it's like when I listen to stuff, it's like, oh, I know this, I've heard this before. So we walk around with all the knowledge. So, but when it gets to actually sitting down and getting to work, then things doesn't want to work, or either we're not doing the things, or we then get to learn how these things really work. And something that works for you, for example, with your clients, brilliant idea, let's implement it in my business. And then it doesn't work to the same degree because our clients are not the same, and then you learn and say, what do we need to adjust? What's working? What's not working? So, sorry, I'm rambling on a bit, but it's definitely a case of, what works for you. It's such an important point that you made there. So I want to ask you, so let's talk a little bit about branding and brand strategy. It sounds like you need to be a corporate to work with Rizanne or with someone like Rizanne. This is an expensive exercise. This is only for the big boys. This is not for the independent advisor or the solo agent that works for a particular product provider, for example, but they want to build their brand. They want to build their personal brand. They want to build their practice within that environment, but it's really just them. So is that the case, or do we have solutions for people that are on the smaller side of the business scale?
Not at all. I think there's room for everybody. When it comes to design, it would be bespoke design. It would be for your brand specifically. We specifically look at who you are, how you communicate, what is your tone, and we look at your audience, and we look at what is your audience hearing that you are saying, and the two is often very different. I think business owners think, I am giving this message and my clients are going to respond this way, but your target audience is actually buying. They're hearing something completely different. So branding is really having a deeper understanding of all stakeholders involved and mediating the divide so that you get an authentic message in between. Your client doesn't lose his values that he stands for, and the values properly come out, but also that the audience clearly understands what he's selling, and from a branding point of view, what does he stand for? What is his why? So that it comes out in the correct manner, so to speak. Yeah.
So I'm just now trying to translate that for myself. So does that mean that branding has got more to do with the relationship first and the product or the service second? Where do you build, if you're trying to build your brand, where should you focus initially? If it's one thing if you already have a brand and you can leverage that for different things, but what if you're now just starting out? So let's take me, for example. So I've been doing what I'm doing now. I've dedicated doing this since 2016, but I still feel like my brand needs building. So I still feel I'm very much at the beginning of building my brand, versus some of your other clients who've got this established brand, that they can leverage off. So from that point of view, would you say that if you're starting off and you're trying to build your brand, you want to position yourself as being different, being the expert, being the only person to solve your ideal client's problem, where should you focus first when you start doing that?
I think definitely, and the financial guys would understand this, is you are going to be doing a needs analysis on yourself. So you're going to be looking at realistically, what can I afford? And realistically, monetary wise, and realistically, what can I sustain time wise? Remember, you're running a business, and just coming back to the first question, we do work with personal brands. We're very passionate about personal brands as well. They're welcome to come to us. So the first thing that you would be doing is doing the needs analysis. What can I do now? What do I have? And you would be looking at your brand. What do I stand for? And then you will be looking at your marketing activities. Which marketing activities can I sustain? Just to explain, I know you had asked me, what is the difference between a brand and marketing? So,
which was going to be my next question now as we were going, is like, okay, but let's just explain what is the difference between branding and marketing, because people use it interchangeably, and I believe that there's a big difference.
There is an overlap, and the overlap comes in because your creative needs to be tight and it needs to be solid, which we often refer to as a brand, but we use the brand in the marketing, so I can understand that happens. But your branding would be, and mostly your branding would come first. Your branding would be who you are, and marketing would be how you build awareness. Your branding would be your strategy and your values and what you stand for. And your marketing will be your tactical goals and the tools that you utilize to deliver the message of your brand.
Yeah, and then now the next thought in my mind is, where does authenticity come into this whole branding thing? Because you can create a persona for yourself, be it for online, for marketing, or your business persona, could you have a very different brand from what you are in reality as a person when you're home, etc.? Or should there be a direct link between the two? Sort of should your business brand reflect who you are as a person when nobody's watching? Now, is there any philosophy around that, or is there a right and a wrong? Is there any proof that one works better than the other? I don't know. So that's just something that I'm wondering about as we're having this discussion.
I definitely think, and this is more of a philosophical question, I definitely think when it comes to authenticity, let's start it this way. Some people are comfortable just working with a logo, and some people are comfortable with putting their face in front of the brand. It's two very different things. Some people are very comfortable with being active and being visible online. A lot of people work just as hard. There's no for and against argument, but it's offline. And it's just what they feel comfortable with. Now, the authenticity comes in is when you push somebody to be active on a certain channel, or work a certain way, or adapt a certain strategy, which doesn't align with who he is and how he acts and how he behaves and how he talks. Now, what the message that comes out, all of a sudden, your audience is going to hear, this does not make sense. He doesn't even sound passionate, or he or she, about what she's saying. So authenticity really does come in when you are comfortable with the way you are doing things and the channel that you are on. And this is one thing that I find very, very much with startups. They would go, we need to be on this channel, this channel, this channel, this channel, this channel, this channel, this channel. And my philosophy around that is that you do not need to be active on every single channel. First of all, it's business wise, it doesn't make business sense to be on there, that unless you have a huge budget. And obviously time wise, hopefully you have somebody that does that, because you need to be focusing on your business. So definitely I would say pick the channels that represent you best, that has access to your audience base. Learn how to use them and use those, and then start adding on as you go along, as you go. Another point on authenticity I think that's important is that it is lovely, and I see it with personal brands a lot, it is lovely to talk about the hustle and we all listen to motivational stuff and we all love seeing those things. It is lovely to see that. But also we have to be realistic. It's not sunshine and roses. It is not glossy. On the other side of doing business, there's sweat, there's tears. You're often having to deal with your failures alone. You're celebrating your successes alone. I think for financial advisors as well, I mean, when they're working in their own practice and it is a lonely space, it is important for them that they do have a network around them. It's important for them that they learn. And it's important that they draw from their networks, that they're not alone. They're not celebrating their failure, or their successes alone, and they're not having to deal with their failures alone. And I'm a big believer in collaboration and the power of collaboration. I believe there's room for absolutely everybody. We all can learn and grow from each other. Ultimately, when we all stand together and do that, that is when innovation happens. That is where one person talks to another person and they're both discussing problems, and out of that, solutions come, and out of the solutions, innovation follows. And as an industry, not only financial industry, all industries, that is how you move forward, and that is how we make things better. Ultimately, you want to serve the consumer or the client, and the client is happy when things are made better, when products are easier to use, when information is easier to understand.
Yeah, okay. And that leads me now on to, because I want to talk about, and I fully agree with you with the things that you're saying, And I think one important thing is that when one does want to collaborate with someone, is that you need to share the same values and I think to a large degree the same vision for what you're trying to achieve, because otherwise there's no reason to collaborate. That is, the chances of that going south is very good. I've had a couple of those where, it seems great on paper, and then once you start working, you realize, no, like you view the world actually very different. You thought you were getting along well, but you don't. So it's also very important when we start collaborating with people. I absolutely believe in collaboration. I've also started doing more of that in my business. And because initially we have this fear that the pie is only this big, and now we're all competition for one another. But actually, if you think about it, there are clients that love me, there's clients that love you, there's clients that love Sue and Johnny and whoever, and it's never going to change. You know what? But together we have so much more powerful voice, as long as we share the same values and we're trying to achieve the same thing at the end of the day, and that thing needs to be bigger than yourself. Then a collaboration, I believe, is fantastic. You can do things that you would never be able to do on your own. So I'm absolutely for collaboration. But at this point, I want to move on to quickly talk about, you were talking about making things simpler and easier and that kind of thing. Is there at the moment, do you think, I'm just going to focus a little bit on the financial planning or financial professionals space, and do you think that there's possibly, I want to make a statement and then you can say yay or nay, or there's no right or wrong answer here, but I'm curious to know, is there maybe a disconnect at the moment between what clients want and what advisors think their clients want? And then what the advisors are doing and the way they're doing it and the way they're communicating with their clients, they think that they know that this is what the clients want, but then ultimately it's actually not, and we're missing the mark. Do you think there's any truth in that statement?
I definitely think that in the financial industry, that I think that the client is sometimes forgotten. And I can say this because I landed in the financial industry by default. And coming from an outsider's perspective, I've been that person. I have personally been that person who had to hunt down where my policy is and where my advisor has gone to. I definitely empathize with the client, and this is not across the board with everybody. We know that, and this is definitely something the industry is working on very, very hard, and I think they're doing a great job to change this around. In fact, I think they've made leaps and strides. But I do think that you get certain financial advisors, and they do really well because their client is at the core of their business. They invest not only back into their careers, learning, upskilling, they also invest back into their client experience. And those clients, you would know, maybe gets a chocolate, things like that. Those clients really, they do feel valued. They always know where they're at. They always know who they can contact. And there's no problem. And I think working with financial advisors and working with a few now, and speaking to many over the last year, you can really see the difference between some that really connect with their clients and some that's just running a practice. I don't want to offend anybody here, but there is a difference, and I can say that from my point of view, because I work with the testimonials, and when you look at the testimonials that clients give the advisors, it really hits home, and you can really see what they've done and how they do it. And these are advisors that are online, and these are advisors that are offline. And I read these things, and I'm thinking, wow, you've really made a difference in this person's life. And ultimately, that client has become an advocate for you. He's referring everybody else to you.
So do you think that, I think one of the things is that we make it difficult sometimes for clients to get in contact with us as financial planners or financial advisors, financial professionals or business owners in itself, and when you do move, it's like people don't keep track of where you're going. Sometimes you get advisors that every time they upgrade, they get a new cell phone number. I know that's not applicable to everybody, but it may be things like that. They move from one product provider to another product provider when they're tied to a specific insurer, and how do you keep track of where they're going, and just things like that. So you've come up with a product called ProfileMe, right? It's called ProfileMe.
Correct.
And that was my first reason for wanting to talk to you, actually, is to say, well, wow, because I saw a prototype for somebody that you were still busy at the time designing and putting this whole thing together. And I mean, that took months of really collaborating between you and this person. And it took a long time for that thing to be perfect, I guess, for you and for them, to say, well, now this is what we wanted. And I met with him yesterday, and he showed me everything that he's done and that he's built around this whole, I don't want to call it an app, because, wow, it is a fantastic tool. So I think it started off as a digital business card, but then this thing evolved into something completely different. So I'm quite keen and excited to hear more about ProfileMe. What is it about, and how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, ProfileMe. ProfileMe all of last year. ProfileMe, I'm very, very excited about, and it's been an incredible journey. It's been an incredible amount of work as well. But I'm very excited with the way it's going and where it's going. Ultimately, ProfileMe started, like all things, from a problem. Somebody had a problem, and I was ultimately curious, and I like solving problems. I was ultimately curious, but how can I solve this pain point that involves the plain paper business card? And from that, I did see a kind of a online contact card that will natively, will open up your phone functions, or dial immediately and email immediately. But it really tickles my fancy. But where's the branding, and how can we take it further? I'm being curious. We left it at that. Being curious, I went, and I spent some time just trying it on my own, building a very rudimentary first version of it, prototype of it, and taking it further, taking the brand further, the branding that the actual business card can do. And I would still say at that stage it was a business card stage. You had these buttons and you had the branding. It's definitely not where it's now. And from there, when I had the first workable prototype, it was taking it to stakeholders and seeing if is it actually useful. I was very excited about it because it could do a lot of different things, and also I built it. But I took it to the stakeholders in my network, and I was absolutely blown away by the response. I think the one was, how soon can I have mine? Or how soon can I have 20?
Always nice to hear.
How soon can I have 25? Yeah. So that kind of happened. And from there, the real work started to get to the place and the working model that we have at the moment. So with the ProfileMe card, it's one interface that connects with all of your online channels. It can connect with your website, your LinkedIn, even offline stuff like PDFs, which we would put online, your YouTube videos, photos about you. There really is a lot that you can integrate in it. Booking applications, Google Forms, that's say a client risk assessment, to name but a few. You can integrate that into it. And it really becomes one interface where your client can now access everything they need to know about you to not only verify your business, but also to make the needed decisions and get the needed info that they need. some of the items are on your website, some of the items are on your LinkedIn. There are different channels. Some of your are offline Google Forms, for instance, that they want or need to fill in. And they can all do that from the space of one interface that is easy to use and is incredibly, incredibly shareable. So it really, really helps, I think, with not only the verification process, but finding a faster way to come to the end result and making your life for your client easy. Not expecting them to go and jump from one platform to that platform to get things done or get information. You just making it easier for them to access you and access what you do. I think the lovely thing about the ProfileMe card, and we've seen it how we've spoken about the Cobus Klein case study, and our Cobus is a very big advocate, and he's got the Rolls Royce of all of these cards, which we spent a lot of time developing, and we've really seen how it works there. And working with Cobus, we spoke about the fact that when people are going onto different channels, the distractions are too much. So you're not getting to the end point where you need to be. So with a card, they can get to the end point. And Cobus tells me that his clients, with a save to home screen, you can save the card on your home screen. So your advisor is always with you. He's in your pocket. And on our phones, so it's where we spend our most time. So they're really, I think you're adding extra value for your client. You're giving them a sense of trust, and it's a workable tool that they can use every single day, not only to call you, to navigate to your office, but also to find out little bits about you. If you've got updates that's on there, it also keeps you top of mind. And, they can click to you're on their phone all the time. The other item that happens also is people could share, your clients can share it with their family. Listen, if anything happens to me at any time, this is my person that you need to speak to. Everything I have is here. It creates such a sense of trust, I think, and I'm looking for a word in English now. It's called rustigheid in Afrikaans. But it creates just such a sense of relief that finally something that's simple and easy. I know somebody said to me, "Oh, finally everything in one place," and it just makes the process a lot easier. Also, it's shareable via WhatsApp. You can use it on Facebook. You can use it on LinkedIn. You can use it on Twitter. There's multiple ways that you could use it. And how it can be actually shared on all of those platforms that share huge shareability functions. So the shareability and referrals that you can get out of that is amazing. And I know the cards do travel. We do get calls from all over the show, and we're based in Johannesburg, and we'll get a call from PE. So it's cards that literally travel across borders, and it's lovely to have a workable tool that now you can do business with people and you can get verifiable, and you don't actually need to be in the same location to exchange a handshake or a paper business card.
Yeah, that's amazing. And initially when I saw it, it was, and that was still the earlier version. I didn't see the very first version, but it wasn't also the one that I saw yesterday. And it was so visually appealing to me, and that is the first thing that caught my eye. So it's very well designed. It is your branding. If I say you're the person whose card it is, so if it's Cobus in his example, it's his branding, his colors, his whole personality. Everything there is, you can see, well, this is Cobus's card. So it's not a generic card that everybody's card looks the same, right? You can customize this to have the look and feel that you want for your own business. And I think that's the power of that. And you know what? I've worked for quite a number of places, and every time you get a box full of 1,000 business cards and you leave there and there's still 700 left, or you change job titles and now you need to print another 1,000 and you throw the other 700 away because nobody can use them. So this is a platform or a card. And I just want to, before I get into that, because the point I'm trying to make is just to say that this thing is it's a living thing. It can update real time wherever you go. And when you do that, it's immediately updated on whoever's got your card. They've got the latest information. So if tomorrow I take a video off and I put a new video on, or I take a PDF off and put it, everybody's got it. It's there. So every time they go into the card, they will find new information. And it's not like a website that you need to go to and page through. It's all there. You just scroll through the screen, and it's just, I must congratulate you on this, Rizanne. It's really, really a fantastic tool from what I've seen. And I've got a similar thing, which is not similar at all, if I must be honest. I can't remember if I sent it to you, but I've got this online business card thing that somebody else referred me to. And, you know, it's okay. It's nice. It also has my branding and stuff. But, you know, if I see what you've done with your version of this, it's no longer a digital business card. It has now become a whole host of things. It's a truly like your cell phone. You know, that cell phone used to be a thing that you call with and send SMSs with. Now it's replaced your camera, it's replaced your GPS, it's replaced your calculator, your watch, everything's been replaced by this one device. And I feel that that's what you're busy doing with with ProfileMe, because ProfileMe now, one is, how do people contact me, and you know, how do they and in the manner that they want, by looking at one thing and clicking once. They can, if I prefer to WhatsApp, I WhatsApp directly from there. If I prefer to call, I call directly from there. If I want to email, I email directly from there. So I don't have to go to different places and look for where's your email address. And it's literally, there's a button, you click the button and it happens. So that's the first thing that I sort of saw there. The second thing is obviously the branding thing, because now I can put other information on there. So I can have, as you said, PDFs or videos, links to podcasts that I was on, articles that I've written. I mean, literally, if I'm not mistaken, anything that I can think of, you can put onto this card. Let's call it a card, but onto ProfileMe. And then so it helps me with my branding. And then the third thing, it's now also a way for clients to transact with me, because if they can book appointments with me, if they can send me instructions, if they will, I guess it becomes a whole, you know, sort of transaction platform, workflow kind of tool as well.
A workflow tool. That's correct. I mean, anything and everything that is online or hosted on a server somewhere, if we have a link to it, we can embed it. You create a button for it, and yes, they can literally, we're working with a Bitcoin company at the moment as well. They can literally have their webinar, their Zoom webinar room. The button is there. Their training calendar is on there. You can even go as far as putting your online payment gateway on there. I think that the beauty of it is called a progressive web app, a PWA. That's why it can save on your home screen and function in a certain way, but it is not a traditional app that requires you to update it all the time and use your data. You're not asking your client for things. You're just giving them that, and that's it. And I think that's where the big difference comes in, where we're asking in our marketing activities, we are as brands, we are incredibly demanding from our audience. And we forget that we are not the only brand that they're engaging with. They're engaging with many different brands, and I'm sure they can feel the pressure of all the demands from them. So making it easier is definitely something that will differentiate you. I think with a card, you know, where you are able to embed just about absolutely anything and everything, and the beauty of it, that when you click on the links, it will integrate with the native applications on your phone, but the web links will go onto onto the browser, your browser of choice. So if you're using, for instance, say you've got a workshop and there is a payment button within that page per se, you know, it does go to your payment gateway where the security and everything is already online. It's already within the payment gateway there, hosted online, and there's nothing to worry about. It's safe for you and it's safe for your client too. And obviously then the live updates, I think, whether you've sent the card 5 minutes or 5 years ago.
No, that's definitely a plus as well. And so it's really, I mean, I think it's a fantastic tool, and it's something that everybody should look at. In terms of is there different versions of this tool, and sort of, is there custom pricing depending on which version you go through? Is there specific things that would influence the price that one would pay for? Because I guess this is like software as a service, almost kind of sort of structure. Can you tell us a little bit more about, are there versions and just sort of the pricing structures that go with that?
Okay. Well, first of all, it is a subscription service. One thing that we do, and one thing that we actually do need to do, and coming from a creative and also brand strategy perspective, we find that we do need, in the beginning, there is a consultation process involved because it is new. It is sometimes a conversation is required to explain just how much the card can actually do. So you do ask, what are your pain points? What are you struggling with communicating with your clients? And what things are you finding you need to go back to the office to email this? And what is making your workflow harder? Let's use a card and let's make it easier for you and your client to communicate what you need to communicate to get to the end goal. And so with that, it's very much user experience focused. And I think user experience is a big part of it. And then the design. So we really look at your brand. We speak to you and collaborate with you on how it should be looking, and what we look at everything else, how your brand is looking, and it does need to tie in with the existing brand that you have. So with that, first of all, we there is a consultation phase where we make sure that the design, the user experience works 100%. If it's not going to work for the user, they won't use it. It needs to be right. And that is why I think the design is one of the most crucial factors of the card, and probably where the magic happens also.
Yeah, but can I interrupt you quickly? So it's also,
yes.
If I listen to you, what I'm hearing you say is also, you didn't say it, but I'm hearing this, is that there's actually a strategy behind it. Each person's card will have its own strategy. So there's strategy that leads to the design that then leads to the ultimate card. You shouldn't be getting this card just for the sake of getting the card. It must be part of your processes and the way you do things, and it must be part of your strategy of how you're going to position yourself and how you're going to be working with your clients. Then this is the right solution for you. Am I right if I say that?
Yes, I think that's like the higher grade version of saying that. But it will work for any business. And I would almost say even businesses that are offline, it solves a lot of their problems to get online. It will work for most businesses. And it especially works well for, say, you could use advisories as an example, or businesses with a sales force with agents that operate semi-independently or independently, where the entire branding and the brand message that's coming across needs to be universal. That's one, because we're working with not only the individual, we're also working with the company or the advisory. There's two different sides and two different pain points that you're addressing here. So the card really does need to address all of those and overcome that. So from a business perspective and a business owner perspective, you now have a universal tool. Your branding is solid across the line and universal, and also the message that you're sending out, and especially if your agents and affiliates operate independently, you're not going to have the broken telephone effect, which we find is a huge issue with some of our clients. They can't have agents putting out a certain message which is not in line with their brand values. So that's where the card overcomes that. And then with the agents, obviously, you have an amazing tool. You have your own personal profile / website / business card that you can give to your client, and they can immediately verify you. They can connect with you. They can refer you on. They can say, I've just met with this Francois, he's absolutely amazing. You do need to go to one of his courses, and here it is. There's also psychology behind it. And I'm going to come to the different packages now. There's also a little bit of psychology, I think, behind it. At any time, if you look at your personal network, and this is where we operate in the most, we operate in our phones very much, and that's where you want to be ultimately. You want to be in your prospect's phone. And we operate within our personal and our professional networks. So when a referral process starts happening there, that's good. And it gains traction very quickly. I mean, if I could ask you, how many people do you know that has moved in the last 2 months? To a practical example, like moving house, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, at any given time, you know somebody in your network that is going to be doing it. And naturally, we're inclined, if we know somebody that's a really good service provider, naturally we're inclined to refer that onto our network. So when you refer that onto your network, it comes from a source that they already know, they like, and they trust, and they're more inclined to go with that solution. So it really works well within that framework. I mean, when you're at a dinner party, and that's where the psychology also is lovely and really comes in. You're at a dinner party, people are talking about their problems. And that's lovely when you're listening there. People are talking about their problems, and you would notice how often people would refer or recommend a solution. So with a ProfileMe card, if you know that, if you have a service provider, at any given time, you're probably going to meet somebody that's going to need that. And we are naturally inclined to refer a solution because we want our friends to obviously feel better or do better or have their problem solved. And we will refer on. And from there, it has a knock-on effect. That person that you've just referred has their own network. And within that network, they also know people with X, Y, and Z problems, and they will refer if they can.
Yeah. So tell me, Rizanne, where can people learn more about ProfileMe, and where can they get hold of you if they want to know more?
ProfileMe.online is where my business card is. Like I said, if you haven't registered your own domain name, do so. We redirect your domain name to your card. And then you can also go to profileme.co.za for our website. There's not too much information on our website, but you can contact us directly from there. If you're looking at the packages, we do work with different packages for different types of market. You will get your individuals, and then we would obviously get your companies or your advisories. And for the companies advisories, we really have great options and solutions, because not only can they onboard people very, very quickly and give them all the tools and all the information that they need to start functioning and working quickly. They can also have different types of cards where you get a customized card where, say, let's talk within the financial industry, where advisory will have a custom card. The person can put in their own photos, their own about section. We can very much personalize it, but it will still be within the overall brand structure. But you can also have generic cards where somebody's just onboarded quickly. It has their own contact details, their own navigate to, or whatever is needed, but it has the overall brand message and it's got their face on there. So immediately, within a couple of days, they're up and running and they're verifiable. When that advisor would say, move, leave, go to a different company, the advisory would have bought a subscription for the year. They simply slot in a new person in that card. They don't pay for a new subscription. So they have a seat on a bus. Whoever is sitting in that seat gets a ride on the bus.
As long as you have enough seats for the bums, it's cool.
Yes, that's correct.
That's an awesome offering to have it that way. And do people pay via debit order, or do they pay monthly? Do they pay annually in advance? What are the options?
At the moment, it's annually and it is in advance. When we're onboarding larger volumes, we offer payment plans, and there's a specific payment structure involved in that, which is spread out. Which is spread out, and it's something that we discuss directly with the advisory or the company. We will be later this year. We will be launching the online store, I'm very excited about that, and that will be global. It is especially for some of the cryptocurrency people that needs to have their affiliates overseas sign up and onboard onto the card. So then from there on, there will be online payment options, and we will be looking at introducing things like Mobi Credit, where you actually have an option of getting it immediately but paying it off over time. The monthly debit order is, for us, we realize the value of it. I can see why it would be important. Business-wise, right now, it is not something that we will be going right with now. But we are aware of it, and it's something that we will look at a later stage.
Awesome. Great stuff. Rizanne, anything else that you think that we should have mentioned that maybe I have not asked you, something that you think in terms of ProfileMe or branding or anything like that, that people should maybe take note of on a closing note there?
Definitely. I think people need to realize that we are connected and we are mobile. If you look at the latest stats that they've put out, 95% of South Africans own a mobile phone, of which 60% are smartphones. We've got 23 million social media users, of which 22 million are via mobile. WhatsApp is the most popular messaging platform in South Africa. 9 out of 10 people use WhatsApp on a daily basis. South Africa is moving into a space where we are using social media to communicate business goal or business communications more regularly. So I definitely would advise and think that people look at those things and harness the power of it. It's got incredible power, and many of these platforms are free. I think we often look at, and there are really great solutions out there, but we often overlook the very simple and cheap solutions that is so workable in our daily strategies that we use. Another thing that I think is very powerful about WhatsApp is, if you look at the open rate, you're sitting at about 98% open rate, right about there. The stats vary, but we know that it's a highly deliverable and engaging way to get in touch with your client. Obviously, bearing in mind that you already know the client and the client has given you permission to contact them. Spam is bad, please.
Yes, spam is bad.
Spam is bad.
Let's just confirm that. So and also from it's interesting, if I can give you some insights from my side about the WhatsApp and email and those options. When we've got live webinars going, I get better open rates on my WhatsApp, but I get better click-through rates via my email. So that is very interesting, where most people will, when they're on their laptop, they will actually click on the link to go and register, because we can track exactly where you've clicked. So where are you coming from WhatsApp? Are you coming from the email? Are you coming from LinkedIn or our website? So we can track all of that. And it's always interesting for me to see that I get better open rates on my WhatsApp, but I get better click-through rates. And this is something that Kobus actually said to me yesterday when I met with him. And it's something that I now started also implementing. Mariette Tappen, who's also, I think, one of your clients, she's mentioned this to me before, because I tend to, when I send WhatsApps, if I've got something to say, I say it. So they can, you have to scroll up the screen to see the entire message. And you know what, it was this discussion with both of them that said to me, maybe it should be shorter and more to the point. So yesterday and today I started doing that. So it's a very nice, short little. WhatsApp is great for distributing, almost like Twitter, just without all the crappy noise and the politics and all of those things. We don't have that on WhatsApp, luckily. But it's great for that, to make people aware and then get them to click through. Email, we can give longer explanations and things, because people expect to read an email. So that was some great insights from the two of them, and that I've now, you think about it, when somebody says things like that to you, it's go like, that's definitely truth to that. And we get so excited sometimes. And I think what I want to leave you with is to say, well, you know what, you need to have a plan and understand how you use each one of these platforms. That's the first thing. The second thing is that clients have their own preferred platform or way of how they want to communicate with you. And I then want to end off by saying ProfileMe makes that easy, because instead of trying to figure out which point of access do you give to your clients, you give it all. And they decide, they click the button that's relevant to them. And I think that is, I'm getting goosebumps here. So it's really a fantastic thing that you've put together. And I want to congratulate you on this, Rizanne. And I'm really excited to see where you go with this tool going forward, because I think there's still a lot of things that's going to come up, problems that will arise. We think, but we can solve this by using
we have some
that
things
we've already built. We can just expand and do this. I think the challenge will be to say, well, where do we stop and what is the core that we're going to focus on? Because I think there's so many things you can do with the solution that you've built. So I want to thank you. We have some things up the sleeve. I'm sorry, Froza, I just want to add to you there quickly. And this relates directly to what you said about your click-through rates. If content is king, which content is king, let's not forget about that. Then distribution is queen. So, I mean, really, if you can sort of figure out what is best for your business and figure out your best distribution channels, I mean, use them all and harness the power that they have. Distribution is really, I mean, that is how you're going to get your message to where it needs to be. Otherwise, you're not going to hear it. Definitely. No, absolutely. Rizanne, I want to thank you for your time. It has been awesome. I wish I can speak for another hour with you. And, there's a couple of guests who I've said that we need to have a follow-up interview, and maybe you're one of them. There's a whole host of questions that I didn't even get to. And I think we can have in the next one a very focused discussion just around some of the questions that I also wanted to ask you. I think for this episode, the most important thing for me was to make people aware of what it is that you offer, that there's a fantastic tool that can help them do branding, help them to make it easy for their clients to be in contact with them all the time. And then also now do certain transactions like book an appointment and have some interactivity via and I'm going to call it an app, but via ProfileMe. So it's really awesome. And I want to wish you all the best. And I look forward to talking to you more. And, who knows what the future holds. So thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to running into you somewhere soon.
Great. Thank you, Froza. It's been great being here and talking to you. And thank you for having me.
It's a big pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Propulsion. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcasting platform. This will help us tremendously. For more about Propulsion and other valuable information, please visit our website at propulsion.co.za.